Football is, in my opinion, the most physical game. When you get knocked down, have to get back up.
There's no greater rivalry than ours, and that's the way they should be. We're going to beat these people this year, and if we don't, we're going to be really sad.
You have two very similar schools, only separated by 3 miles. You take that and you have two very strong athletic programs. It makes for a situation that's some of the most exciting football games in the state of Mississippi.
It's a neighborhood rivalry. You know, maybe the next door neighbor is, a prep family. The next door neighbor to that is a JA family. It's an interesting thing.
The thing that makes prep different is our Crosstown rivalry, and it really is probably the biggest rivalry in the state.
Prep's had the upper hand. It's up to us to do something about it. On Lakeland Drive, they're working every day, trying to be the very best they can.
They've had the top notch on us, I guess, the past few years. We can change that Friday.
We don't plan on losing. I'm going to beat them every year, every time we play them in any sport.
Let's go!
Do y'all not know he's out there? Well, if you're not from this rivalry, you really don't know exactly what it's talking about. People usually talk about it's a rivalry between, say, when I was at Tupelo or Starkville or Tupelo or West Point. Those were two different communities, and everybody in that community was together against another community. So I didn't know anything about the rivalry here till I get here and say they've been Sunday school classes break up because of the rivalry, because they're in the same neighborhood. The people live in the same neighborhood.
We all know each other, but it's hard to overlook that. I think that's the biggest thing is that Jackson's a relatively big city, but between Jay and Prep, and we all know each other. I mean, you can go anywhere in Northeast Jackson or other parts like Madison, Ridgeland, and there's a good chance you're going to see one of those guys or their families. So some of it's just about bragging rights. I mean, we all been pretty, I would say, cordial about it. We don't let it really interfere with friendships or anything, which I think is good. I mean, it's pretty much on the field except the week that it happens, and then after that, it's bragging rights. But beyond that, we're all still able to hang out and be nice to each other without having to worry about it too much.
But the biggest thing about it is, one of the really unique things too is these guys could play each other, act like they hate each other, and when the game's over, they might meet at somebody's house and talk about the game. Both teams meet, so that's really a strange type of rivalry.
Yeah, it's really hyped up, and the coaches are really on to us to make sure we get everything right, like the small things in practice, and the preparation is just different.
It's a lot easier to go to practice when you have a big game like that and you know what's at stake. For Jay, it's like if you don't bring your A game every day in practice to get better, just a little bit every day, then you won't win the game.
And me and Kincaid have just been close for he's probably one of my first best friends. I've known him forever, and then he moved to Yazoo and went to Manchester after 6th grade year. So then he came back here and went to JA. Well, yeah, so the rivalry, I obviously knew it was a big one, Prep Brochet, when I was at JA kindergarten through 6th or kindergarten through 2nd. You realize how big it is. It's something serious. It's something you'll remember for the rest of your life.
At some other places I've coached, I've been in some tremendous rivalry. So, it's kind of unusual. A lot of those type rivalry situations I've been involved in, but this one's pretty unique, and it's pretty intense, and more so because all the families are so ingrained with each other, and I think that makes it even more an intense rivalry because they have so much history that goes back.
It's a very intense rivalry. The week building up to it, everybody, we're all friends. We all live next door to each other. This is the week of pride for your school, and it kind of gets really crazy till Friday night, and then the ball game goes, and then once the ball game's over with, you'll have one set that's happy, one set that's sad, and then on Sunday we're all back to, living our lives the way it's always been.
It's our Crosstown rivalry, and it really is probably the biggest rivalry in the state, just because, I mean, it's Jackson Academy versus Jackson Prep, which are probably the two biggest private schools in the state, that's why it makes it so much of a bigger game. It's just crosstown rivalry. I know them, they know us, and that's how it is. Tons of eyes are on it. It's going to be loud, and it's going to be a great game.
You know, it's all about the bragging rights and playing against some of your best friends, even cousins, maybe siblings and whatnot. So it's a really special game. Well, it's all business on the field, but once you get it off it, it's a little bit of bragging rights once whoever wins, and then it's everyone just gets back to being friends and whatnot.
Yeah, I've been here since I was 3. This is all I've known my whole life. I know that, you know, the biggest game with JA's schedule was the prep game. I remember going to the pep rallies when I was little, and we would always scream and cheer, and we'd go to the games growing up in elementary and have the best time. Those were some of the best nights. And what's a little different from public school rivalries, because they live in, you know, different school districts, and they may know each other, but they're usually not very good friends with each other. I mean, we're best friends with some of these guys, and I mean, my girlfriend goes to prep. I know everybody at prep, and they know us, and so we are friends with them. So it's pretty cool. They're family rivalries, and I think that's the cool part of the rivalry.
Well, again, I think the fact that you have two very similar schools, only separated by 3 miles, that you have a number of families that are have a lot of involvement in their particular school, and you might have some families that are involved in both schools, and that's just very, very unique. You take that and you have two very strong athletic programs, highly competitive athletic programs, and it just it makes for a situation that some of the most exciting football games in the state of Mississippi.
As participating in Radio Network as a student, I get to document how prep versus JA goes down. For me, it's been more about less than the football and more about what I do for students, what I compare myself with students, and how I interact with the other students more than anything.
I think this rivalry works just because everybody is friends. I mean, it is, at the end of the day, these people go to the same churches. They shop in the same shopping centers. They're cross the street neighbors for the most part, and you don't see that a lot. You often see town versus town, where in this instance, yes, Flowood is where the school is located, but it is basically Jackson, where all these schools are going against each other. You just don't have that really anywhere else. I mean, again, Oxford versus Starkville. It's a town versus a town that aren't close by. So that's why this rivalry works so well.
Competition makes everybody better, and this is kind of the head of competition. The schools are so closely matched academically, athletically, performing arts, just across the board. They're very much similar, and obviously, kids go to the same churches, and so everybody is very close in this community. And so by being so close, you have to make sure that nobody wants to be second in anything. And so that competition allows you to be better at everything. And I think each school has benefited from that by having pressure of being better than the other school.
Yeah, sometimes I kind of get caught up in it all, just kind of like caught up in the heat of it if it's like a really close game. But like sometimes I just kind of take a step back and realize, wow, I'm like, whatever I put on screen, hundreds of people see, and they can watch it hundreds of times over, and they probably will within the coming years. And whatever I put up there, mistakes or great successes, they'll document and see. Being part of the Radio Network allows me to participate in this rivalry like not many other students get to do.
The night that Walker's episode happened and was on a Friday night, and once we got to the hospital with Walker and he had his brain seizure, we weren't really sure what was going to happen the next few days or where this was going. That night, that Friday night, we were in the emergency room, and football coaches from prep were there, and the faculty, Dr. Walton, were there. But one thing that people kept talking about was, what are we going to do with all these kids out in the parking lot? I didn't realize it, my wife and I both didn't realize it till the next morning, that they were pretty much a split up of prep kids and JA kids. And all those kids joined hands in that atrium together. If you rode by JA that week, all the cars had "Pray for Walker" and had 65 written on the windshields and shoe polish. And, you know, the whole North Jackson area was just, they were focused on Walker and coming together for Walker. And Football game's a competitive sport. We're human beings, we're playing a sport, but we don't have to take it to such a high level that it separates us. And, you know, Walker's death brought us back together.
Adam Malone, what a great kid. I many years ago coached at Kappa Academy, and when I eventually got to prep and Adam was coming over to be in the 7th grade, you know, I knew that he wasn't going to be able to play sports, but when they started letting him video football games, that changed his morale.
Basically, it's a disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's a rare disease that affects 1 in every 3,500 boys at a young age. It affects every single muscle in your body, which means like your heart, your legs, and the progression of the disease will cause you to be in a wheelchair like this. In 9th grade, I saw an ad that said there's a meeting for broadcasting. I was like, ooh, that sounds fun. So I went there and learned all about it, and I thought that's just what I wanted to do. Mr. Gross got someone to fabricate a bar that went onto my chair that would hook up a camera and a tripod to it. Really, the creativity came from Mr. Gross. I didn't really know about how to set up the camera on the chair or really anything like that.
3 years ago, with Adam's sophomore year, we had an open session for anybody interested in participating in the broadcast. And Adam came. What he wanted to do was run camera, but he's physically limited, so he can't get on top of the press box. He can't get up in the stands, so he has to be on the sideline. So how do we get a camera mounted to his chair? Because he can't, he can't stand up, obviously, and mess with the camera. So I actually enlisted the help of a prep graduate who owns a metal fabrication company and told him what I needed and kind of drew it out roughly. And he donated the metal piece that fits on Adam's chair. And we adapted his chair to support a connection for the camera so that now Adam is going up and down the sidelines at every game and getting those real close-up shots.
When he first came to us about the broadcasting club, we really didn't know what that was. We knew it was something that Adam was really adept at doing. He was very good at it, but didn't realize just how far he could take it. And the reason that he has done so well in it is because Bobby Gross and the other members of the prep family have joined together, and they've created an opportunity for him to do it. I mean, when Bobby came up with the camera that fits on his wheelchair so he can go back and forth, I mean, that was just inspirational.
I think what makes Adam Malone's story and this rivalry come together, he is battling tremendous trials and tribulations, if you will, with life. There will be a lot of trials and tribulations on the field on Friday night. And so I think he kind of exudes what this rivalry is, and that is being able to overcome and to do the very best that you can, no matter how you feel, how you approach life. I mean, all that goes away that night between the hash marks, and it's all about beating JA or it's about beating prep.
For a kid that can't play, it's so awesome to have the opportunity to be able to be right down there with everybody, which is huge for him.
Out to the 16-yard line. Down on the play by number 32, Chase Rush.
One of the things that makes this rivalry so unique is when you say it's like a family rivalry. In a lot of cases, that's literally the truth. We have siblings that go to both schools, and so it's a house divided, right? They've got students at JA and have students at Jackson Prep. So that right there is one of the things that really makes it unique. But even goes beyond that as far as just the community, neighbors, church members. Really, a lot of these students and a lot of these families coexist in the same communities and run in the same circles as far as church groups and social groups. It can make it fun. My dad did leave a big legacy here, and I'm still trying to fill those shoes every day. Probably never will, and that's okay. It is a great honor for me to be back here working in the same capacity that he worked here and left such a big legacy. I think probably my dad's words of wisdom to both fan bases going forward regarding this rivalry is let's try to keep things in perspective.
I came from St. Richard's knowing only 2 people, and there's like 180 in my grade, so it's like really big, and I was terrified at first. It's literally the best week. For us cheerleaders, it's so stressful, like learning a new dance, but it's so worth it. And getting ready for the pep rallies and doing the drum line down the hallway on that Friday morning, decorating cars. It is the best week at prep. The energy is really intense, like everybody's adrenaline's rushing, and we line up all the pacers in like a line, like parallel line. They come out, coming from the big helmet all the way out, and we are put streamers all through the pacers to the football players get to run through, and they do their ripples as they go through, and we have fog machines right next to where they come out to make it like real intense and just add the dramatics to it. And then we'll be standing kind of within the streamers at the beginning, and right when they start yelling their chant, they start running.
I've had cousins and tons of friends that have been at JA, and the rivalry's been so fun, but it's definitely been different here. It's just been something that I've always looked forward to. You know, just having like so many friends on the other team has been so much fun for me, because all these people I've grown up with like my whole life, we've always gone to church together. Our parents are friends. Our parents went to high school and college together. It's like that's always been so much fun for not just us, but like the families too at the game.
What makes this pep rally incredible?
I guess it's just we all like just like prepare so much for this one. Not like we don't for the other ones, but this one's just like so big, and we have a lot more stuff going on at this pep rally. It's just such a good time.
Now let's get over to Jackson Prep, where Marcus Hunter has our Solutions Team Game of the Week.
Now, Jackson Prep has dominated this rivalry for the better part of a decade. However, tonight, the Jackson Academy came into the game with a very good game plan on offense and on defense. However, Jackson Prep had their weapon back on the field tonight. After missing 3 games, running back Jerion Ely was back. And folks, let's just say he did not disappoint. Both teams came out fired up in this one. Jackson Academy getting it done on the first drive after getting down deep inside Jackson Prep territory. Ken Key Dent finds Thad Bishop for the touchdown. He virtually went untouched getting into the end zone. Jackson Academy up 7-0 early. And then Jerion Ely showing you what he can do and why he is so important to that Jackson Prep football team. Ely taking the pitch, and folks, he is gone. 75 yards to the end zone for the touchdown, tying the game up at 7. Later on, more from Jackson Academy coming right back. This time, the old wide receiver pass, and that's going to be Owen Francia with the catch, getting down into the 15-yard line, and then Thad Bishop is going to punch it in from there, taking the handoff, getting into the end zone, putting Jackson Academy up. Yeah, the crowd was fired up at that point. But mama, there goes that mannequin, Jerion Ely. And folks, this kid is worth the price of admission, making everybody miss and looking back at the defenders as he makes his way to the end zone. Jackson Prep going up 14-13 at that point. Prep not done, Ely not done either. This time showing you he can catch as well. Check out a Jake Lang hitting Ely for the touchdown pass. Nice catch, nice touchdown. Jackson Prep going up 21-13 at halftime. Fourth quarter in the fourth after a Jackson Prep touchdown. More from Ely. You like it from up top. And how about this low angle? Jerion Ely coming right into your TV screens, folks, going into the end zone for the touchdown, helping Jackson Prep get the win 35-13.
I was real proud of the way our team played. I thought the defense played strong. We gave up some plays to the quarterback. Of course, he's a good player too, but it was really good to have Jerion Ely back tonight. But I thought he had a great job. He put on quite a show tonight. This was really the first test of the season, and I really
think our players did a good job responding.
We got to be more consistent. Got to get points. Defense gave us a few stops there in the second half. You know, we go down and score and make the game out of it. We didn't do it, and you know, so we come out on the short end.
So again, your final score tonight, the Jackson Prep pulling away in the second half to come away with the 35-13 victory. And again, Jerry and Ely having a fantastic game. But for now, for your Solutions Team Game of the Week, I'm Marcus Hunter, 16 WAPT Sports.
All right, thanks so much, Marcus. Again, that score was 35-13. Prep remains undefeated. That Jerry on Ely kid, he is the truth. They're handing JA its first L of the season. Somebody, please nominate him for Blitz 16 Bank Plus Player of the Week.
I tell people all the time about football. I think it's the greatest game out there that teaches a young man more about being a man than any other sport that's out there, because in football, you're going to get your tail knocked off and you're going to be in the dirt. And you got two choices. You either get up and you keep playing and fighting, or you quit.
I think what makes football and the game of football so unique is that the ball can bounce a lot of different ways. And when you look at life, it's the same thing. And, you know, you'll fumble in life, but yet you can recover that fumble just like you can during a football game. And so I think they kind of mirror each other, a football game and life. And I think that's what prepares these kids for life, is being able to play in a game like this.